You're such an asshole. All right, we got hang on, where'd it go? Steven Perlstein. I don't know who this guy is. I looked him up, and the irony is he's got, I think, half the Twitter followers than I do. He's twice my age. Well, maybe not twice, but he definitely has a couple decades on me. And he's a professor and a business economics writer. He writes on all these big time things, and he's also a Pulitzer Prize winner. And then he writes an article that I was going to let it get to me, but I'm going to use this. We're going to make lemonade out of lemons. And Steve Perlstein is a lemon. Because he is the epitome. You guys want to see why I hate the baby boomers? This guy is the epitome. I mean, this is everything culminated into the reason not only me, but everybody else should hate the baby boomers. Because, I mean, there's so many things, but the primary one, especially when it comes to regards to this article, is he's a professor, among other things, and he's basically blatantly lying to young children about the value of a liberal arts education. I mean, as if Social Security wasn't enough, as if parasiting like Dracula off the lifeblood of younger people wasn't enough for this fucking scumbag. No, he's got a double dip. He's got to protect his little academia liberal arts fiefdom. And if you look at his background, he's nobody. He's a fucking nobody. If we did a Clary test on this guy would be scoring like a 3+. He's never worked a real job. He's always been in the academia, touchy-feely article writing. It's not a real job. This guy isn't a real man. But he's just skis. He's just slime. And so I wanted to read a little bit of this in the hopes, look, you, me, everybody else, normal listeners and followers, we identify these guys. We know these people. They major in the liberal arts. They're hippies. They've never worked real jobs. This is what the Clary test is all about. This guy's a professor, and this guy is lying to children to get more of their money. We know that. But what I'm trying to hope to do is kind of show, especially leftist younger people, including Gen Xers, and the Gen Xers might be able to have the experience now or the life wisdom to see this, but certainly not the millennials because they're in the cocoon and the cacophony of the choir house. But can you look and see who is lying to you or who lied to you? Who truly cost you a lot of money? Who truly sent you down a path that you're never going to recover from? Who made off like bandits with your money? It was professors. It was academians. It was these fucking assholes. Right? And I know that you're very proud of your masters in freaking sociology. I know you're all excited and you jerk off to it daily. It's there up on the wall. You got it framed. And there you are jerking and rubbing one off because you got a master's degree. You got an advanced degree. But after a decade of time of you just suffering and starving, and I know you've been prompted and brainwashed to believe it's white males and capitalism and all that did that, but can you at least admit that the people that made off like bandits are like the guys like Steven Perlstein? Can you admit that you gave these professors and these institutions, these deans and these chancellors, you borrowed tens of thousands, if not today, 150,000 of dollars to give to them for a worthless piece of paper that you jerk off to every night because that's the only thing you've ever accomplished, even though it's not an accomplishment? I'm not asking for all the millennials, let alone the Gen Xers, to have the rude awakening and have a cup of wake the fuck up. Although a cup of coffee does sound good right now. I am asking you to accept the possibility that maybe you were duped. That maybe these Steven Perlsteins of the world are not your friends. And that even though you may dislike my demeanor and my asshole consulting tone or tune, that maybe an honest asshole is better than a lying, self-claimed saint. All right? So, written by Steven Perlstein. Pulitzer. What the fuck? Pulitzer. Isn't that funny? Wasn't it Pulitzer? I watched was it American Genius, the documentary on him and Hearst and how those two went at it. And you found out that Pulitzer, he was kind of like for the common man. Newspapers really weren't for commoners. They were for the elite, the professionals. And this is also correlates to the fact not everybody was literate back then. And so he says, no, I want a paper for the people that highlights the plight of the people and honesty and publishing ethics and integrity. And that's where the Pulitzer thing comes in. And now all the irony. I mean, it's like the the Nobel Peace Prize. It's been so co-opted and corrupted it means jack shit if a fucking piece of scum like this actually wins it. Because he's the establishment now. He's the establishment. He's telling you, he's working for big media. He's working at academia. Yeah, you guys don't have to give me money. I don't ask for your money. I don't say, hey, if you're going to get a job, you need to take my class. I say, hey, you want the truth? Go to assholeconsulting.com. Throw me a couple shekels and I'll fucking give you some advice. But it ain't going to be no fucking $300 for my textbook. The 49th edition, because the 48th edition just, last year, there's been so many changes. All right, let's get on to why. And we'll read the article. And you'll learn to hate this guy as much as I do. Meet the parents who won't let their children study literature. Forcing college kids to ignore the liberal arts won't help them in a competitive economy. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Stephen Perlstein is a post-business and economics writer. He is also a Robinson Professor of Public Affairs at George Mason University. Public Affairs. Fuck you, Steve. Fuck you, that ain't a real fucking... That's not a real study. That's just like women's studies. Go fuck yourself. When I assigned an 800-page biography of Andrew Carnegie for a new undergraduate course on wealth and poverty at George Mason University a few years ago, I wasn't sure the students would actually read it. Dude, do you need an 800-page biography on a dude about wealth and poverty? Can you really not succinctify that up to about like 200 pages? Not only did most of them make it to the end, however, but many thanked me for giving them the chance to read a popular work of history. Curious, I inquired how many were history majors. Of the 24 honor students at the seminar, there were none. Good! Bravo! My book is actually doing more good than your fucking brainwashing, Steve. Bravo! These kids are not majoring in stupid shit. English, philosophy, fine arts, only one. How is this possible, I asked. Almost in unison, half a dozen replied, our parents won't let us. Good! And for you idiot kids that think your parents are being mean or abusive, they're being your parents. They're making sure you don't piss away your money on stupid degrees that you could get for free with the exact same education and benefits at the library. The results were similar when I surveyed freshmen in another honors seminar this spring. Please don't claim reading a book about wealth disparities is an honors program. Please. This time I asked how many of them would have been humanities majors if the only criteria were what they were interested in and what they were good at. 10 of the 24 raised their hands. All right, but the real world doesn't give two flying shits what you like. I would like to study big-titted, red-headed, long-legged, big-boobied studies. I even wrote a post. I like to major in Jennifer Aniston studies, where I took some idiot broad's post about why I became a humanities major or something like that. And I just did an edit replace humanities major and put in Jennifer Aniston studies. And my point was clearly made. I know you don't like economics. I know even though you're a writer for economics, like the classical fucking fraud of a professor you are, you can never do, you can only teach. So I know economics, that's never crossed your mind about demand for these fucking majors in the first place. But let's continue on, Steve. I really hate this guy. I hate this guy. The results were similar. I was aware, of course, of the drift towards pre-professionalism on college campuses, of widespread concern over student debt, of stories about college-educated baristas living in basements, of governors threatening to cut off state funding for French literature and anthropology. Good! My tax-paying dollars shouldn't go to pay for hobbies. Even so, I found it shocking that some of the brightest students in Virginia had been misled by parents, the media, politicians, and alas, each other into thinking that choosing English or history as a major would doom them to lives as impecunious school teachers. Where is the media and the politicians coming in? You guys have been propagandizing these kids for decades, telling them they wouldn't make jack shit unless they went to college. And then you fed them right with that lie. You slid in another lie saying, follow your heart and the money will follow. Any degree is a good degree. And your long and belabored article here, Steve, that just does the exact same thing. This is propaganda that you're talking about here. And it's not just state schools like Mason. Harvard University professor Jill Lepori recalled hosting an information session at her home for undergraduates interested in a program she directs on history and literature. I'm going to ask again, can these kids get that? You don't even have to go to the library. You just go, the Russian Rulers History podcast. I didn't even have to leave my house. I didn't even have to read a book. I just I learned all about Russian history for free. I know more about Russian history than you do now, Steve, and I didn't pay a fucking penny for it. Who's the smart one now? Oh, that's right. I forget you're the epitome of a baby boomer scumbucket. One student who attended Lepori told the New York Times kept getting text messages from her parents ordering her to leave the meeting immediately. Oh, there's hope. There is hope. Oh, I have heard from many different colleges that there is now a considerable and disturbing amount of parental pressure against the liberal arts. The only reason you guys find it disturbing is because your fucking racket is up. You don't offer anything of value that we couldn't get for free. And now you guys might have to get real jobs. And I'm estimating, I'm betting with your leftist financial planning and economic skills, you guys don't have a lot of money saved up. And it's just like 98% of the other fucking boomers, you got jack shit saved up. And now you're like, oh shit, what do I do? Now you can't work physical labor because you're too old. And now you gotta go, oh, where can we find blood? Where can we suck the blood out of innocent young kids again? Aha, here we go, college, academia. Oh, reports Deborah Humphreys, a senior vice president at the Association of American Colleges and Universities. One reason for the explosion of double majors, as high as 40% of students at some elite schools, is that students want one major to satisfy mom and dad and another to satisfy their own interests, she says. So if they're double majoring, what do you guys care? You're getting your pound of flesh. You're getting your 60 pieces of silver. Before you accuse me of being anti-Semitic, Silver, Perlstein, quarter Jew right here. On the mother's side, so technically 100% Jew. Never set foot in a fucking synagogue, don't know anything about the Torah, but I'm going to just deflect that little fucking cowardly criticism you'll make about anti-Semitism. Parents are becoming more deeply engaged in nearly every aspect of the children's lives, and it's carrying over even to their choice of major. A lot of our students feel parental pressure to go into business, economics, and medicine. Jesus, don't go into business or economics. That's both worthless. I understand your parents are doing pretty good. You're improving, it seems. But you got to get on the STEM bandwagon here. STEMs and trades of the military. That's it. It says, Christy Buchanan, who heads the Office of Academic Advising at North Carolina's Wake Forest University, a traditional liberal arts college that recently announced new programs in biomedical sciences and engineering. Oh, look, even you guys admit you're wrong. You don't offer anything of value. Buchanan, a psychology professor who studies the role of families and adolescent development, says this is what helicopter parenting has come to. No, this is one of the rare instances where your parents are actually doing good. This is good. They are preventing these kids from either spending their precious hard-earned money on worthless degrees or going and borrowing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on worthless degrees. This is a great move. You fucking professors are just pissed off that these parents are fucking checkmaking you or checking your moves. Matthew Boyce, George Mace's director of undergraduate admissions, reports that parents are more interested than ever in the direct path between a degree program and a first job and the eventual salary associated with that degree, as you should be. Look, dipshits. All you academic dipshits. I don't care what your fucking degrees are. You're all a bunch of fucking dipshits. If you want these people to major in the liberal arts, you want them to follow your heart and the money will follow, okay, then why don't you lower the cost of tuition? Why don't we get rid of the director of undergraduate admissions and the person who heads up the Office of Academic Advising at North Carolina's Wake Forest University? Why don't you guys not sell your books for like $300 a book? Why do you make it affordable? See, because until you do that, you're asking these kids, you are forcing a financial decision upon them. You're saying, hey, this is going to cost you 4 years of your life and $80,000. Oh, geez, you think there might be some concern about a rate of return on that? And take your fucking things, your fucking counter arguments. Well, that makes them well-rounded, and we know it doesn't matter what you study. Take it and shove it up your fucking commie, hippie ass. Just shove it up your ass and shut the fuck up. And that's an argument. That's an argument because you're lying. There's no intellectual honesty debating with you people. I'm going to use a millennial argument, shut the fuck up, on you because that's exactly what it's one of the few times that the millennial mindless argument, not kind of just the argument of shut the fuck up, applies because you're lying, you're dishonest. There's no reason to engage in this fake intellectual argument for the liberal arts. What parents are thinking about is return on investment. Yes. Don't you leftists always say education is an investment? It's an investment. Well, investments have a return on investment. That's what defines an investment. You get more back than what you put in. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an investment. Then it's called a consumer good. It's called fun. It's called a hobby. But I know, Steve, economics isn't your forte, even though you claim to be a writer about it. I certainly got that sense when I buttonholed students and parents in an information session this spring for high school seniors who had been accepted to Maton. Hang on, buttonholed? What is that? Does that mean like you held them hostage and tried to brainwash them? There's a lot of information sessions going on. A lot of orientation. Buttonholed. Buttonholed, idiom. I certainly got that sense to Mason. To spend $80,000 on a history degree, I'd need to see a way forward to a career, said Kyle Tucker of Fredericksburg, Virginia, as he stood with his son in the long line in front of the engineering school's booth. There we go. Get that kid into STEM. The boy was torn between cybersecurity and accounting. I'd like to think my book Worthless had something to do with this 5 years ago. Bradley Gray of Richmond told me that he enjoys history, but it's hard to get a job with a history degree. That's what I hear anyway. The opportunities are in teaching or working in a museum. Bradley is aiming for something in STEM, science, technology, engineering, or math. We're on the defensive, acknowledges Robert Matz, a Shakespearean scholar who has an associate dean. I wonder why the costs are so high. The associate dean in Mason's College of Humanities and Social Sciences. The more syllables there is in the title, the higher your tuition is. Okay, kids? Just pay. There's a little bit of wisdom, a little nugget of wisdom from the old captain. Is leading an effort to promote the value of liberal arts degrees. You fucking idiot fuck. There is no value. The value is determined by the free market. All right? And that's why you make as much as an 18-year-old, what do they call it, child nanny with no training as you do a 22-year-old graduate with a degree in frickin' Shakespearean works. The English department's website, for example, now has a prominent section, what can I do with a degree in English? Nothing but parasite off the rest of society. That lists famous actors, musicians, judges, politicians, and corporate executives who were English majors. Yes, who are all probably baby boomers who actually benefited from the glory days where any degree actually was a good degree. And what? I like the list. Let's come up with a list, huh? List. Let's click on the list. They got a list. How many do we got? Toni Morrison, Aravind Adegada. Have any of you guys heard of these people? Pat Conroy, Tom Clancy, Stephen King, Stephanie Meyer. Museum curators like John Bauer. Oh, you guys all know John Bauer, right? I mean, God, who doesn't? Daniel Rich. I'm just going to come up to 8, 9. School and college administrators. You guys are listing school and college administrators as success? Really? These degrees are so worthless, the only thing you can do is simply go back and reteach the same bullshit to these kids? Look up what is it? The Circle of Why Bother. That's it. Look that up there, Steve. Kavanaugh Hollis. Oh, television and radio. Diane Sawyer. You know who? She's only 80. I'm sure there's no differences in demography by today's. I'm sure it's the exact same industry and business that it was in the 1940s. Dave Faber. David Garraway. Screenwriters. You know what? They're listing. Let's be generous. I'm not going to count them all. Let's say 200. Well, 200 out of how many baby boomers are there? 80 million? No, who is this now? Okay, so here they came up. This is their 200. See, these are their examples. 200, 80 million. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if we take that 200 and we divide it by the 80 million, there is a 0.000. Wait, I gotta count the decimals. This is how pathetic this is. 0.00025% chance. Not a 0.25. 0.00025% 25% chance. 25 100,000ths? Did I carry the decimal right? 25 100,000th% chance. You'll be successful like these guys. Oh, famous English majors. See, so like if you guys are not the top 1%, but the top 1% then you guys can become famous like they're recommending. Over the past 30 years, the shift in college majors hasn't been as dramatic as many assume. As the total number of students has doubled, the humanities have suffered modest losses in market share, while natural and social sciences have been the big winners. Okay, but the social sciences are bullshit too. But more recently, in the wake of the Great Recession, the number of degrees in the core humanities disciplines, English, history, and philosophy, has fallen sharply. In the mid-1960s, it represented as much as 70% of degrees conferred. Now that figure is just over 6. Oh, that's great. That is great. You're down to 6%. We could eliminate this scourge like frickin' malaria or the plague. This focus on college as job training reflects not only a misreading of the data on jobs and pay, but also a fundamental misunderstanding of the way the labor markets work, the way careers develop, and the purpose of higher education. You lying sack of shit, Steve. Are you ignorant or are you evil? Which one is it, Steve? Do you really believe that paragraph you just wrote and I just fucking read? Are you saying that these kids can't look at starting salaries? When I go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I don't know if you're aware of that, Steve, because you're an economics writer, presumably. But when I go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and I look at starting and median salaries, that data is pretty conclusive to me about what degrees and what majors pay and which ones don't. And I see there's no links to education or studies that there's not a corollary. Like, there's no correlation between STEM and starting salaries. None whatsoever. You're a lying sack of shit, dude. You're just the epitome of baby boomer scum. Let's start with unemployment. Oh, he's going to explain it to us, folk. A study. Hey, see, there's a study. A study came from Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce. Well, see, that's not biased at all. It's academia, and it would have absolutely no bias whatsoever to champion further education. Found that in 2011 and 2012, well, there's a longitudinal study, when the economy was in the early stages of recovery. What? No! 2009 is Jesus Christ. And I'm doing this from memory. The unemployment rate for recently graduated majors in the humanities and liberal arts, 8.4%, wasn't all that different from the jobless rates of majors in computers and math, 8.3%, biology, 7.4%, business, 7%, and engineering, 6.5%. Today, with an improved economy, the number for all majors are almost certainly lower. Well, what does that say about the liberal arts? Nothing. That just means the economy generally improved. If everybody went up by 5%, so what? Underemployment, the barista problem, is also overstated. When researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York looked at the issue, they found that the share of recent college graduates on low-wage jobs rose from 15% in 1990 to 20% in 2002, the latest year in the report. Hardly an epidemic. Well, that's funny because I look at the U6 unemployment rate, and I've seen other studies that show that the underemployment rate is between 20 and 50%. So which one is it? See, at least when I write or when I give speeches or whatever, I say, depending on what study you want to assume, it ranges from X to Y. You fucking cherry-picked. According to this one study that suits my interests. They also found that over the years, about 1/3 of recent graduates have always worked jobs that don't require college degrees but pay decent wages nonetheless. Yeah, because they have to actually pay off their student loans. And that has been as true for sciences and business majors as for those with degrees in humanities and social sciences. Yes, because they got to pay off their student loans. Even in good times, it's quite typical for college graduates to take several years to find jobs that make use of their educations. Why should it take several years? Why? Why would you spend this money and time to wait several years when your student loans all of a sudden start coming due? Why would you risk that? You make it sound like this is the new normal, like we just got to tolerate the monthly terrorist attack. No, this is just normal. This is just how it goes. No, ignore how it was in the 50s and the 60s. That was all racism. I know we got that benefit because we were the baby boomers and we're the most spoiled fucking cunty generation ever. Ignore that. No, you don't get that. No, there's a new normal. terrorist attacks, not minorities, immigrants taking away your jobs, and now you get tuition bills of $100,000, and maybe it's just going to take 5 or 6 years for you to find a job in your field. Yeah, that's the new normal. Then there's the matter of pay. The first thing to say is that reports of liberal arts majors living lives of deprivation and disappointment have been greatly exaggerated. It is true that STEM and business majors earn the most. No, business majors don't earn the most. You obviously didn't do your fucking study. STEM make the most, period. Business majors, maybe they make a little bit more than your dipshit over in the humanities or the liberal arts, but not by much. With median annual incomes between $60,000 and $80,000. But even the average humanities major with wages of just over $50,000 earns enough to fit in comfortably with the American middle class. Why the fuck would you major in the humanities then? Here's the other thing. Nobody really works in their field in the humanities majors except for the precious 0.00025% of the people. Most of these people go on. I mean, look, I know them. They're slinging coffee. They're baristas. They're bartender owners. They're bartender server type people. Nothing wrong with these professions. But don't say they're using their degrees. Don't say that oh, well, see, we make $50,000 a year. Median. And that's median. Fuck me. Fuck that. You could go work the trades and make a lot more money. Actually do something of value of life for the rest of society. I want to know how much of that $50,000 is make work government jobs because the government, we need a sociology department, we need social work, we need welfare, we need make work academia programs. Pull that fucking artificial support out of there. Let's see what happens to those wages. That would be called a lowering of demand there, Steve. And I know, once again, you being an economics writer, you don't know jack shit about it. Just as significant are the variations in incomes within majors. The top 25% of history and English majors earn more than average major in science and math. Well, yeah, because you're taking the top 25%. What is this? Really? I mean, this might fool somebody else, but this is going to fool somebody with an average or above IQ. While the bottom 25% of business majors make less than the average wages of those majoring in government and public policy. Because those cocksuckers like you, Steve, have connections. And is artificial employment. I mean, really, if we just wiped out all the academians and all the government money that went into colleges and education, we took away the professors and your deans, your assistant deans, your faculty members, I wonder what would happen to that artificially inflated figure. It would be a mistake, of course, to attribute salary differences solely or even to primarily the choice of major. One study, here we got that one study by economists at Yale. So not real economists, academian economists, not the ones that could find employment in the private sector, found that half of the premium earned by STEM majors can be explained not by what they learned in college, but by the greater intelligence, diligence, and other characteristics that they brought to these majors. And well, it's good to know that STEM majors are better people than the liberal arts. Maybe they deserve to make more. Or to put it another way, they would have earned more no matter what they majored at. I sincerely doubt that. You can't prove a negative there, Steve. And of course, starting a major is not the same as completing it. Given attrition rates of 48% among STEM majors, alas, it's even higher in the humanities. So the humanities majors are really fucking stupid then, huh? Cal Newport, a professor of computer science at Georgetown and author of the book How to Win at College, has interviewed hundreds of students about their college experience. Based on those interviews and observation of his own students, Newport believes that those who chose majors simply to please their parents are more likely to give up or burn out. Well, that doesn't correlate with the data you just sent me, Steve. You said it's higher in humanities and people want to choose the humanities, so they're burning out at higher rates of what they choose. You just contradicted yourself in a fucking paragraph. And you got a Pulitzer. You got a fucking Pulitzer. How the fuck does that happen? My God, if I got offered a Pulitzer, I'd say, you know what, can you turn it up like paper so I can wipe my ass with it? What does it mean anymore? It's just harder to weather the hard times if you don't have the intrinsic motivation. You might not... How long is this article? We're almost there, guys. You might not expect college freshmen to understand that careers don't proceed in straight lines, but surely the parents ought to. Well, that's why they're having them going to STEM, Steve. In the real world, most physics majors don't become physicists, most psychologists don't become psychologists, and most English majors don't become writers or teachers. Yeah, but one group gets employed and makes money. You'll find a surprising number of philosophy majors at hedge funds and a lot of political science majors at law firms. Well, that's not shocking, because what do you do with a political science major? You major in law. Duh. I was an American Studies major. There's a shocker. Oh, you intellectual titan, Steve. My God. What kind of a jerk-off studies degree was that? I'm a women's studies major. I'm going to look at myself. I'm an American. I'm going to study myself. Among chief executives of the largest corporations, there are roughly half as many engineers and liberal arts majors in total as are undergraduate majors in business, accounting, and economics combined. Yes, Steve, because they're all old baby boomer fucks like you. They came from a different era. A college degree meant something back then. Now it doesn't, because you idiots told everybody to flood the economy and the labor market with college degrees, and now the value of degrees have gone down. So back in the olden days, yes, I could see if you're 65 and you had a degree in the liberal arts that you could still make something of yourself, because not everybody went to college. You were still in the cream of the crop. And that's why the CEOs are predominant. There's still some diversity among the CEOs in terms of their degrees. I'd like to see that happen in the next 20, 30 years. Oh, indeed, one study. God, you're citing your little one studies. One study, while the other 98 said the completely opposite thing of what I'm going to say, found that only 27% of people have jobs that are substantially related to their college majors. So then why go to college at all? There's my point. Boy, you don't debate real well. You don't think through your statements before you make them, do you, Steve? Indeed, one study found that only 27% of people have jobs that are substantially related to their college majors. So then why would you go to college? A reality that applies even to STEM fields. Now he applies a link here. Census.gov. Majority of STEM college graduates do not work in STEM occupations. 74% of those who have a bachelor's degree in are not employed in STEM occupations. In addition, men represent STEM for relatively low unemployment. So employed. New statistics. Engineering. Science majors have fewer. 26%. Could it be that they get onto management? I'd like to know how they measured this. They're basically saying half the STEM majors don't end up working in STEM. I'm wondering, well, is that because they end up becoming managers and they're in management? That's why they all take their MBAs after they get their 5 or 6 years in work experience. Choosing a major is not choosing a career, said Jeff Sellingo, author of There's Life After College. So then why do you guys make this mandatory and so expensive? Again, Steve, you can lower your price. You can lower the cost of your book. For me, there's nothing more depressing than meeting incoming freshmen at Mason who have declared themselves as accounting majors. They're 18 years old and they haven't had a chance to take a course in Shakespeare evolutionary biology or the history of economic thought, and already they've decided to devote the rest of their lives to accountancy. And I agree with you here, Steve. That's why I wrote a book called Reconnaissance Man, where before going to college, before dropping a fucking penny on that bullshit, they go and they take a 2-year road trip around the country. They'll learn more doing that, taking in books for free at the library. There's this thing called the library. It's free, Steve. And they don't even have to go get a book. They can listen to audiobooks nowadays, Steve. And they can learn all about Shakespeare and have the exact same employment prospects as they would if they majored in Shakespeare without the debt and not to mention the 4 years of wasted life. It's worth remembering that at American universities, the original rationale for majors was not to train students for careers. Yeah, well, they didn't cost fucking $75,000 for 4 years of your fucking bloating. Rather, the idea was that after a period of broad intellectual exploration, a major was supposed to be given to students the experience of mastering one subject, in the process developing skills such as discipline, persistence, and how to research, analyze, communicate clearly, and think logically. Yeah, we also had horses as the main mode of transportation back in those days, Steve. As it happens, those are precisely the skills business executives still say they want from college graduates. No, they don't want that, no. They want you to show the fuck up on time now, given these millennial brats. Although it would be fair, that has not always been communicated to their human resource departments or the computers they use to sort through resumes. Study of the Association of American Colleges and Universities found that 93% of employers agreed that a demonstrated capacity to think critically. Oh, this critical thinking skills, fuck you. It's bullshit. Communicate clearly and solve complex problems is more important than a study Oh, AACU.org. Oh, American Colleges and Universities. They came up with a study that says you need to take more critical thinking classes to employ their worthless critical thinking professors, which you can actually major in critical thinking. I don't know if you knew that. Look up my video, The Truth About Critical Thinking. It's sad. You could get a doctorate in it. It's bullshit. In today's fast-changing global economy, the most successful enterprises aren't looking for workers who know a lot about only one thing. Yeah, if you know Python, you'll actually get paid a lot. Actually, that's false right there. They're seeking employees who are nimble, curious, and innovative. The work done by lower-level accountants, computer programmers, engineers, lawyers, and financial analysts is already being outsourced to India and to the Philippines. Soon it will be done by computers. So it will be baristaing there, Steve. The good jobs of the future will go to those who can collaborate widely, think broadly, and challenge conventional wisdom, perhaps the capacities that a liberal arts education was meant to develop. Then, okay, Steve, you're an economist, or you claim to be one. Why isn't this showing up in the labor market? Why doesn't this show up in starting salaries? If these liberal arts degrees are in such demand, how come they aren't starting off with higher salaries? I mean, this, unfortunately, I don't know how many thousands of people read this, but I can only imagine the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of human hours that were wasted on reading this tripe. Because in one simple thought, one simple bit of data, it obsoletes the entire article. And then makes me question the validity of Pulitzer Prizes. If the labor market is not showing higher starting salaries for liberal arts majors, then all of this is bunk and bullshit. That's the reality. That's where the rubber hits the road. If critical thinking skills and negotiating and collaborating was so fucking important, then it would be represented in the labor market and salary data. And it's not. You're just a fucking whore protecting your own goddamn industry and covering your ass. I mean, what? Did you buy a McMansion you couldn't afford? Did you get a house up in the Hamptons that you need some extra money for? And now this is just like you're just protecting your ass? You didn't save up enough? Your wife divorced you? What is it? What? But you need money. Just go on welfare. You're a liberal. You're a leftist. There's some, is intellectual expertise become affordable anachronism suited for Democrat has become an unsuited for, in which 18 million students are educated each year at an annual cost of more than $400 billion. We could solve Social Security. We just don't pay you professors anymore, and we throw all that money every year into Social Security, and we've solved our Social Security problem. But I tend to side with Johann Neem, a historian. Do you know any real people that work real jobs, Steve? Who finds it incredibly elitist to say that the masses cannot have the intellectual leisure and curiosity of an elite education. Yes, we have libraries. So here's what I'd like to say to parents who, despite all the evidence, made up bullshit, still believe that liberal arts majors waste 4 years contemplating the meaning of life. At least those passionate kids won't make the mistake of confusing the meaning of life with maximizing lifetime income. All right, whatever, Steve. Oh, just look at him. Just look at him. Put on some fangs, Steve. We know you're a Dracula and you get to suck out the young financial lifeblood of the youth. Anyway, I just want to read that. I know it was a lengthy article, but they're out there, man. These kids. These hipsters? No, not hipsters. Hippie baby boomer leftovers. They're out there, guys. They're part of the establishment, and they want your money. All right, maybe we should do some sponsors.